Hello everyone! Today we're going to continue on with Endwalker MSQ and hopefully get through the Sharlayan questline. We finished up the Thavnair questline yesterday, and then we need to finish off this second questline for the diverging questlines today. Let's not waste any more time, let's go ahead and get right into it and talk to Kryl over here. Well, first we're going to talk to everyone else because that's what we do around here. Start off with Alpha Node. If the Forum is intent on concealing its intentions, then a cursory investigation will avail us little, I suspect. We will need to dig deeper, and with the greatest of care. I still don't understand how the vote can be unanimous. What could possibly convince them all to turn their backs on Eorzea? The process by which forum members are elected is fair and equitable. Neither wealth nor social status offers any advantages to a prospective candidate. But fairly elected or not, Master Matoya still found them all to be insufferable. I bet she would. Our tour of the city was a pleasant distraction. I feel more ready now to tackle the challenges of the day. Hitting the books. Graha, you should be helpful with this. Kryl is intent on uncovering the reason behind the Forum's inexplicable behavior. An unsettling change has come over Sharlayan, but together we will divine the underlying cause for the Forum's callousness. As I mentioned before, however, questioning the counselors directly is a fruitless effort. They seem to have already come to a consensus as to what and how little they are willing to divulge. Which is why I began scouring Sharlayan's archives of historical records for any hint of connection to the final days. Suffice it to say that progress has been slow. There are only so many dusty pages one can skim in a day, but now I have this band of willing reinforcements. The search should proceed all the swifter. Let us reconvene outside Nomuenon. Sure, shall we? Exit the annex to the right, and you'll find the archives to the western edge of the woods. You mean the studium? Isn't the studium to the west? Or are they both, or is the studium and the archives in the same place? Oh, okay, here. Studium's over here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's slightly closer to teleport over there. Yes, the archives, where they will definitely have all of their secrets, and definitely won't be hiding them in some other location or in a hidden section. Yep, definitely a way available for everyone to read. My directions were easy enough to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now before the doors of Nomenon, sure. Sharlayan's grandest collection of books and tomes, Graha's Paradise. This building is actually only an entrance, and one of many at that, for the archives of Nomenon extend deep beneath the surface like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the Great Google Library pale in comparison to the Numenon's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Any citizen of Sharlayan is free to enter and peruse its shelves. Well, most of its shelves. Only Archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. Well, it's a good thing we have Graha and, Y'shtola here. I've dispatched Y'shtola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Alize and Alpha Node will help me continue my search through the stacks open to the general public. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you are only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch upon Sharlayan history or forum policy. Your task will be to find and study the relevant publications. I promise you, a working knowledge of those subjects will make it far easier to spot the sort of clues we're looking for. Let us be about it then, shall we? I've told the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once we've found some promising tomes. Happy reading! Well, I guess we're gonna get reading. Let's see. Oh, there's a sightseeing point. This is why I picked up the quest so that I can try and get some of these while I do MSQ. Alright, are there any on this side or just this side? Brightly colored book. The title on the spine reads, The Story of Sharlayan. Read the book? Yes. Long, long ago, on an island in the northern sea, there lived a Roganin man by the name of Roganin name, insert Roganin name here. Roganin name here was a student of astrology, and he divined that a flood of terrifying proportions would soon sweep across the lands of Eorzea. So it was that he built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for the imperiled realm. The flood arrived as foretold, and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the ocean. It was there, however, that Roganin name here crew hauled them aboard his ark, but the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. With only moments to spare, Roganin name here wove a mighty spell of teleportation and shifted the entire ship to safety atop Abalthea's spine. Refugees from the surrounding regions huddled there alongside them, but it was not long before disputes over a dwindling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Roganin name here gathered to him his crew and his grateful passengers and abandoned the ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast where they built a new ship, intent upon returning to the northern seas. They landed on the beach of an island and settled upon that very spot. That settlement prospered and grew, and in time became the city of Sharlayan we live in to this day. Hope you guys like lore, because I'm going to read all of this. The title on the spine reads, Roads of the Old, the Colony. Many years ago, on the banks of the Thalic in the Dravonian Hitherlands, a Sharlayan colony once thrived. This settlement was originally established as a mere outpost to study the ethereal sea in the year 1311 of the 6th Astral Era. Scholars dispatched to Eorzea found the facilities wanting, and their demands encouraged a gradual expansion in structures and services. As rumors spread of a growing community of academics, the area was further inundated with Eorzean students hoping to share in the renowned wisdom of the Sharlayans. 50 years later, the Forum passed a motion to recognize what had become a flourishing town as an official Sharlayan colony. Eorzean residents took to calling the colony itself Sharlayan, which led to no small amount of confusion when discussions turned the subject of the motherland. In response, sub-Sharlayan inhabitants, if pressed for a name, would simply refer to it as Emporium. Following the Exodus, however, goblins and treasure hunters claimed for themselves a corner of the abandoned colony and gave it yet another name, Ildeshire. The following chapters go on to introduce the most prominent features of Ildeshire. This book does not appear to contain additional information on the Forum, or cover the history of the Sharlayan motherland in great detail. Yeah, it wasn't very useful, but it was cool. Let's see. Oh, there's one right here. The title of the spine reads, A Voice of a Growing City. Sounds like it might be useful. In the years which followed the founding of Sharlayan, civic policy and other matters of import were decided at the Ecclesia, a public forum at which every citizen was eligible to speak. As the city's population grew, however, this format became increasingly impractical. The larger number of participants gave rise to ever longer debates, resulting in significant delays of vital resolutions. Various members were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions, but in the year 201 of the 6th Astral Era, it was ultimately decreed that Sharlayan would transition to a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from amongst their peers by means of nationwide vote. Thus was the Forum as we know it today conceived and created. Interesting. I think that's pretty much what Kryl had told us before. The title in the spine reads, An Introduction to the Heavens. So I actually do want to try and get through this quest line as much as we can today, so I'm not going to read all the books that I don't think are relevant. The title of the spine reads, Forever 20 Summers. Let's see, is there another one over here? Let's check this one. See if the title might be more relevant. The faded title in this year, they Stewards of Wisdom. I think that might be... yeah, let's try that one. During the chaos of the Sixth Umbral Calamity, Archon Nuikref, founder of Sharlayan, bore witness to the madness and savagery of men brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in the northern Empty, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war, and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Sharlayans took to heart the words of their savior, and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of accumulated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other, a nation born from strength of minds rather than strength of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading. With knowledge of agriculture came bountiful crops. Engineering brought wells and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be bartered for wealth in coin, and the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was that no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Sharlayan would live by the Founder's teachings. For the sake of a better tomorrow, for the sake of a brighter star, they would eschew the tools of war, and with knowledge deliver the world. You've gained a fundamental understanding of Sharlayan history and the foundation of the Forum. Head outside and round a view of the point and wait your companions. Yeah, I figured that was going to be the right book. There's actually 2 more lore books there, but I'm not going to read those right now. Also, these, what are they called again? I forget, they have a name. The GGs. I'm just calling them GGs. They have a name. They're like mammoths? Anyway, let's wait for everyone. See what else they found out. Sorry, were you waiting long? I wanted to make sure I'd borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alphanut and Kryl should also be along shortly. I was delayed in a similar fashion. Graha, we know the real reason you were delayed. As far as I could see, no titles in the Archon stacks mentioned the final day specifically, so we have no choice but to start with the tangentially relevant tomes, if they are even that. At present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare, and share our discoveries as we make them. It would have been nice to invite everyone to the estate, plenty of comfortable places to read, and a ready supply of hot tea. Oh, I was always quite fond of reading outside. Of course he was. But it's not about the little pleasures, is it? You miss your home. It's been difficult. After our arrival, we managed to speak with one of the family servants and ask how things were. It seems our dear father has instructed the staff that even if Alphanut and I were to return to Sharlayan, we were not allowed across the threshold. A harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position and that of the Forum will perhaps lead to a reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day. I'm certain of it. And what of you, Graha? Have you been to visit your family, or do they not live here in the city? Ah, well, my situation is also somewhat complicated. I was raised in Sharlayan, yes, but I was born rather far away. He's part of the G tribe. Of course he wasn't born here. Right? In the southern reaches of Ilsebard. In fact, oh, okay. For generations, my people have dwelt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite the island of Thavnir. The Alligans founded a city in the fertile land, and by ship brought in the subjugated tribes of the Mikote to serve as laborers. Of course, the massive earthquake of the Fourth Umbral Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and when the Fifth Calamity froze the seas solid, many of the tribes still living in Corvos braved the journey back to Eorzea. My ancestors, however, chose to remain, that they might prevent the remnants of Allagan technology from being misused. Isn't Corvos under Garlean rule? For the past 50 years, yes. Some semblance of local culture remains, as is the case for most imperial provinces, but Garlemald renamed the region to Locus Amonis. Sure, we'll go with that. When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. House Darnus demonstrated a singular interest in Allagan civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices had been raised in favor of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the Allagan eye no longer passed to our eldest children as reliably as it once had. So originally he only had one eye, but then he got the second one because Crystal Tower stuff. Fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and the destination was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Allag. As the last-born child of the Allagan Eye, I was given over to the custody of friends and the students of Baldesion, who had me registered as a Sharlayan citizen. I never even considered. Forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thancred was taken in by Archon Louisoix, was he not? Stories of adopted waifs and rescued orphans are more common among Sharlayans than you might think. Yet regardless of our origins, we are all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and with sufficient perspicacity, sure. We outsiders can even earn the vaunted title of Archon. Yeah, because Thancred and Graha are Archons. Just exactly why I have such a love for this country, and why I wish to remain a nation of which citizens can be proud. Hear, hear. Another good reason to get to the bottom of the foreign stubbornness, aside from the trifling matter of our impending doom. Excuse us while we try to make some headway in these books. Brilliant. More company should be arriving any moment now. There are others better suited to poring over old history books, so I thought I'd try my luck with more recent events, if I can find anything to better inform the forum's baffling behavior. What else do I know of Corvos? Precious little, I am afraid. I've not returned since Master Goloff first brought me here. I can tell you that Corvosi rebels still seek to slip the yoke of their imperial masters, though. The fighting is far less fierce than it once was. Oh, and they have carpets. Flying carpets. The legends are quite extraordinary. Oh, let's wait for more people. I'll wait for Stola and Alphanode and Cryo. We've returned with our selections. Although I must say, the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mistress Kryal has already flicked through every history book devoted to disasters, and more than a few which barely made any mention of them. As such, we will be looking into research papers on the Umbral calamities, as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge of the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, might I ask you a few questions related to the final days? I'm the only one here who didn't witness the events of Almorat firsthand, and I fear I may be overlooking crucial details. Leave it to me. My thanks. Now, where to begin? First things first, what kind of phenomenon did the ancients encounter as the final days drew nigh? Star showers. The complete destabilization of creation magics, primal's unrivaled power, the worst kind of phenomenon you can imagine. That's not very helpful. I don't remember. I thought it was just the star shower. No, I don't think this is right. I thought it was I guess destabilization of creation magic is probably the closest. Yes, the unfolding catastrophe wreaking havoc on all manner of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing their powers of creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in tangible fashions. Meteors raining from the sky, fire erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the arts of creation had survived until the present day, we might have had something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, those techniques were not preserved or passed on. Ishtola surmises that the closest known magic is that of summoning ritual promulgated by the Asians. Was there aught else of note which heralded the approach of the final days? The entire star was engulfed by disaster all at once. They say it began with the keening sound from the land itself. Alpha Node, you can answer that one. Nah, let's start. I think it's that one. Oh yes, the Almoratnes spoke of it, didn't they? We never did hear this sound ourselves, of course, thrust as we were into the midst of the madness. But it seems that each and every one of the catastrophes was preceded by this ominous noise. Eventually it resounded all across the star, and not even Almorat was spared. So, the ground was crying out, you say? To be considered the harbinger of doom, it must have been quite distinctive, and probably quite loud. I'll have to speak to one of the Nunaman mammoths. Yeah, Numenon, that's the way I'm saying this. I'll have to speak to one of the Numenon mammoths, and ask if any of the books which mention such a sound. Last but not least, would you describe how the ancients sought to quell this unprecedented calamity? What definitive actions did they take? One word, Zodiarch. They summoned Zodiarch. Right? Yes, with Elidibus serving as his heart, so many gave themselves in sacrifice to bring him into being. We do not know exactly how Zodiarch brought salvation to the star, only that his godlike will were the laws of nature set aright. Then, once the balance was redressed, the ancients offered up a further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days. Lives sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls they intended to render unto Zodiarch, a trade that would have allowed them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the primal. Or might have, had Vina and her fellows not manifested their opposition in the form of Hydaelyn. Thank you, both of you, for the detailed review. I feel much more confident now in my understanding of the events. With all that freshly in mind, it does make me wonder what the Telephoroi truly mean when they speak of bringing back the final days. We've seen that they're going to do with those towers of theirs. Is forcing people to summon primals a kind of catalyst? Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by unstable creation magics? Or are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech? A convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash. But this is all just pointless conjecture at this stage. Let us return to our attention to the forum, shall we? We should keep an eye out for Ishtola, but this time time we began studying these research papers. Many forum members are also researchers or professors. If they know aught of the final days, then that knowledge might surface in their writing. That is my hope, anyway. Let's see, do they have anything new? Oh yeah, we already saw this. Let's talk to Kryl too. It really is comforting to have all these dedicated assistants on hand. Right then, enough chatting, more reading. Nope, let's wait for Y'shtola. I'm the last, am I? Well, my extended search of the Archon stacks produced 1 or 2 possibly useful books. But I won't get my hopes up. If you recall, Urianger learned of the Scion's reflections from the Gurren oracles. For its potential to cause panic and confusion, that tome was deemed Apocrypha, sure, and sealed away in the Great Google Library. It is even less likely that knowledge of the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days, would be left sitting on a shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason that my colleagues, be they archons or counselors, should perforce be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet, when you confronted Master Fortunal with knowledge of the Telephoroi and their machinations, he scoffed at the suggestion that they posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the Forum would know if the final days were truly upon us. Which only supports the conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the Forum's behavior, it is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. Not that I mean to excuse myself from reading duty. Whether they contain mention of the final days or no, these books could yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. I thought I'd be able to slip out. You labor for what feels like an age as Y'shtola's research assistant. Thank you for your help, but I think I can manage the rest without your assistance. If I were you, I'd steal quite a few quiet moments to myself. Oh dear, you look exhausted. But what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? Well, there were a couple. Then the day was well spent. Should you wish to read them again, a mehmet at the reference desk will point you in the right direction. For the moment, though, I suggest you take a well-deserved rest. We might be occupied with our research for quite some time. Well, it looks like Alizé's done. She's not much of a bookworm anyway. A seat at the last stand. Alizé appears in desperate need of a study break. Ready for a tea break, Brilliant? I know I am. Ready to get some coffee biscuits? Honestly, my neck and shoulders are going to calcify if I don't stretch my legs and walk around a bit. You know the little stand down in the harbor, don't you? Come and meet me near the outside tables, and I'll treat you to their coffee. It's quite good. I don't like coffee, to be honest. I don't care for tea that much either, but I'll take tea over coffee. A slight mocha flavor can be pretty good, but normally I just drink water. Or if I need some sugar and caffeine, I just drink a Coke. Alizé just wants to go on a lunch date with the Warrior of Light. I mean, it is 11:30 Eorzea time. As busy as ever, I see. How very Sharlayan that no other gourmet cafe has sprung up to compete for customers. Actually, this crowd gives me an idea. Before we place an order, why don't we ask a few questions and gauge the mood of the city? I'm interested to hear what an average citizen has to say about the Telephori. We might even learn something new. Worth a try, don't you think? Alize's not accompanying you, keep her by your side. Do you want her to leave? Why would I ever want Alize to leave? Or by speaking to her and part ways. If you want her to bring back, yeah. Hello there, sir. What is it? Can a man not enjoy a moment of private respite? If you're looking to share a table, then I can respectfully request that you look elsewhere. You must understand, sir. We were simply wondering if you knew of the Telephoroi. These enemies of peace have promised to end the world and... Wait. You're that House Livier girl, aren't you? Yeah, that's what I was thinking immediately. Aren't they just going to recognize Alize? And this woman with you is obviously a foreigner. I'd heard you were disowned for helping outsiders indulge their barbaric whims. And here you are, giving truth to the rumor. I'll thank you to leave me be. I've naught to say to the likes of you. Well, I must apologize. 'Twas foolish of me to expect an ounce of civility from one so enlightened. Come, Brillian. I don't know what she expected from that. Let's see, let's talk to this person. Yes, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Pray excuse the interruption, but we were hoping you might share your thoughts on the Telephoroi and their unconsignable plans. My goodness, if it isn't the young Miss Livier. My apologies, but I won't work in the office of the Forum, and if word reaches Master Fortunal that I was helping you. I see. We're sorry to have bothered you. Okay, so they're just flat out, they're not supposed to help us. Welcome, madam. What can I offer you today? Wait, is that Mistress Alize I see here? My word, how long has it been? Far too long. Meet Dickon, the owner of the Last Stand. I used to frequent this cafe on occasion, in between lessons at the studium. That seems like ages ago now. I remember hearing that you and Master Alphinote had set sail for Eorzea, but then you never came back. Lately, there's been gossip about your father disowning the pair of you. Everything all right at home? It's complicated, and I hadn't expected complete strangers to be so familiar with our situation so quickly. Everyone has an opinion, it seems. Well, it is House Livier. No matter how discreet Master Fortunal may have been, news of your family's doings never stays secret for long. Things being what they are, what brings you back to the city now, of all times? We have questions, and only Sharlayan has the answers. Tell me, Master Dickon, have you heard anything about an apocalypse called the Final Days? What? Like the end of the world? Nothing like that, I'm afraid. And that's what you're here to find? Information on this apocalypse? Yes, whatever we can learn. Unfortunately, your patrons appear to be unwilling to speak with me. I wish there was more I could do to help. But maybe there is. You're a visitor of Sharlayan, aren't you? Then few will know your face. We should be able to pass you off as a server with... Oh, okay. I like the way this guy thinks. We must finish preparing a few orders, strike up some friendly conversation while you're setting down the food, and you might just get the answers you're looking for. Not a bad idea. I hate to ask, but what do you think? Leave it to me. That actually is a really good idea. That's the spirit. Plus he gets a free worker. Pay attention now, and I'll explain where each of these dishes needs to go. The tea set is for the chatty group sitting by the water's edge. The omelet is for one of the regulars, a Highlander by the name of Gisla. She's sitting at the outside table with a friend of hers. Behind them, you should see Mikonte gentleman. He ordered an oven-baked lobster. Got all that? If you're not sure, just ask, and I'll explain again. Good luck. Alright, tea set for the chatty people. Let's see. They said by the water's edge. Maybe they mean over here? Yeah. Yeah, the chatty group, as they called them. Oh, my tea set. Lovely, thank you. The Telephor who? I'm sorry, I've never heard of them, or their final days. My friends and I are somewhat uninformed when it comes to current events. Now, if you wanted to hear about the ritual arcane practice of the 6th Astral Era, common or esoteric, then I'd happy to talk your ear off. No, sorry, not interested. Alright, these guys wanted the omelet. Or girls. Oh, finally, 2468. Let's dig in. No time to waste. What? The Telephoroi? Ah, yes, I remember seeing their name in the latest Gazette. That and some grand claims about the end of days. Some old senseless warmongering. When will these fools grow tired of spilling each other's blood? Best to stay out of it, I say. The Forum made the right choice, and I fully support our decisions to remain neutral. Urbane banter with a smile, they'll give him his food. At last, the oven-baked lobster is mine. You have no idea how long I've scrimped and saved and suffered to afford this heavenly dish. The final days? This is the first I've heard of it. Although that would explain why my friend has been rushed off his feet. It must have been a busy time to be a gleaner. What's a gleaner? I think we learned about that. Ah, you don't know what a gleaner is? They're collectors of sort. Travel the world procuring things that we haven't got here in Sharlayan. Priceless books, unusual life specimens, and so on. Named for these folks who trail after the reapers in the fields, picking up every grain which was missed. Aye, by all accounts, gleaning is a most meticulous and demanding profession. If these Telephoroi make it good on their audacious threats, then many uncatalogued rarities could be lost forever. Why else would the gleaners be buzzing about in such a frenzy? Watch the harbor and you'll see what I mean. They're carting loads in from docks all day. I've never been this hectic before. Not like this. Interesting. Oh, let's go report back to Alize. Tell her what we found. Any trouble with the customers? Were you able to get anyone talking? Interesting. They seem unaware of the final days, aside from whatever vague news the Gazette are printing. Even Dickon had nothing to offer, and he's the best source of gossip in the city. If the Forum does have secret knowledge, then they've done an impressive job of ensuring no one whispers it to the wrong ear. In any case, thank you for playing your part so well. Here, that cup of coffee I promised. But let's enjoy our drinks somewhere else, shall we? Maybe behind the peristyle, away from the gossips and their wagging tongues. Well, let's go enjoy our tea with Alize. Tea, coffee. Of course, we all know that Alize just wanted to go on a lunch date with the Warrior of Light. Yes, this should do nicely. Out of the wind and out of sight.
When our father disowned us, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It wasn't until much later that his words began to sink in, that I began to feel the weight of what it meant. Do you remember when the decision was made to come to Sharlayan? Graham said that the Forum was determined to keep us in the dark. and that Father's venomous performance was part of that strategy, to keep us at arm's length. Perhaps it was. Father argued with Grandfather on many occasions, but never with such dismissive contempt.
Or if he's trying to protect them.
And when he demanded what justifies the sacrifices we make in war, I honestly didn't know what to say. Neither did Alpha know, I know, but never for one moment did I believe we had made the wrong choice. So all I could do was fume silently. It was only afterwards that I realized how childish I had been, how being stubborn and self-righteous must run in the family. If I could have just mustered a civil response, then things might have turned out differently. They must be ferrying goods to Labyrinthos.
Labyrinthos?
A vast complex beneath the island. Sharlayan is famous for archiving knowledge from around the world. Well, that knowledge is not preserved exclusively in dusty tomes and desiccated samples. Our living library, comprised of all manner of flora and fauna, is housed and studied within that underground facility. Still, that did seem to be an unusually large shipment. When I lived here, it was rare to even see such cargo transported by boat. Wait, didn't you hear something in the last stand about the gleaners coming and going more than usual? Well, I think they're the ones we saw manning those boats. And gleaners answer to the Forum. If the appearance of the Telophoroi prompted this sudden burst of activity, then Labyrinthos may hold a clue as to what the Forum is planning.
That seems kind of obvious, to be honest. Like, if that's going to be one of their archives, shouldn't we go and check it out? We checked out the books, now we're going to check out the actual archives. Or the more physical archives. A labyrinth descent. Alize is excited to share your revelations. We should tell the others and what we've learned about the Gleaners. Go on ahead to Numenon, and I'll join you in a moment. Master Dickon will want his cups back. Alright, let's head back to the library. But seriously, like, we're gonna check the books, obviously, but if there's a whole other archive to check, why don't we try and check that? I get that that's probably going to be a lot more restrictive. Like, the library had the various levels that you could go on. Or that you could access depending on your status. I suspect this is going to be a lot more strict. Welcome back, Brilliant. Been for a walk and cleared your head, have you? Not exactly. We did some impromptu investigating and turned up information on the Gleaners. It makes sense. The Gleaners take their requests directly from institutions and bureaucrats. Yes. But as you say, they ultimately answer to the Forum. A sudden and significant increase in Gleaner traffic and in cargo. It certainly gives the impression of an overarching plan being put into motion. Let us see what theory we can build from the facts. As Y'shtola observed earlier, Numenon's archives appear to contain no information concerning the final days. Coupled with what Berillion and Alizé learned at the last stand, we can be reasonably sure that most Sharlayans know nothing of that particular period of ancient history. Yet my father and his colleagues are not only familiar with the final days, but they also somehow certain that the destruction being perpetrated by the Telephroi is wholly unlike those apocalyptic events. Moreover, the Forum claims to be so occupied by a duty of such pressing importance that they saw it fit to unanimously deny Eorzea's request for aid. And now the Gleaners, official agents of the state, have been mobilized on an unprecedented scale. I do not think it is stretched to conclude that the Gleaners' recent activities are in service of the Forum's secretive ends. In which case, our next course of action seems obvious. We must visit Labyrinthos and assess the situation for ourselves, and if we're lucky, the Gleaners will be far more receptive to our questions. A fine idea. What should we expect down there? Anything would be better than burying our head in a dusty tome. Another dusty book. Yeah, what should we expect down there? Oh, I would hate to spoil the surprise. As for myself, there are a few more subjects I would like to research, and I may join you later, but feel free to leave behind the borrowed books and be on your way. I'll see to it that each is returned in its proper place. That would be a great help. Thank you, Raha. Let's head down to the stairs over there, and I'll show you where the entrance is. Stognod. Alright, let's go. Go follow Alizé down the steps. Wherever it is. I thought it would be down here, but I guess... Yeah, where else would it be? Yeah, we'll see. Ready? Labyrinthos is not too far from here, but you may find the path a bit disoriented. I'll take the lead, so stay close. Follow Alizé and try not to fall behind. Okay. Alizé, this is not a brisk walk. Yeah, Alizé, let's get a move on. It's just ridiculously slow. Now we run. Try to keep up. Keep to the path, straight ahead. We cross this bridge. Up here. I mean, I figure that considering there's an exit point over here. The Rosta, not far from here. Rostra. Here we are, through this door and down the stairs. You did remember to attune to the shard back there, didn't you? It will make your life so much easier if you need to come back here in a hurry. Otherwise, we should keep moving. Yeah, I already attuned all the crystals here. That looks like it's attached to the inside there. But yeah, let's head down the stairs into Labyrinthos. Or whatever it was called. Go ahead and pick up the chocobo keep just to get it off get that exclamation point. That suit. The suit with the chocobo mask just looks like something I'd see in Limsa. Anyway, let's talk with everyone. I've not been to Labyrinthos in the longest time. Even as a student, my visits were few and far between. You didn't take a wrong turn into the rostra, did you? I doubt the forum would have taken kindly to you barging into a private session. Yeah, well, too bad. I'm here now. How did the forum learn of the final days, and exactly how much do they know? More to the point, what do they intend to do about it? Hopefully the answer to at least one of these questions lies below. Watch them like try and summon Zodiac or something. We're all here now, yes? I've taken the liberty of securing permission for our group's descent. Right, everyone into the lift, and down we go.
Deep beneath the scholar's city shines a false sun within a fabricated sky. In any age exist those who consider the floor an extension of their bookshelves, and this vault's architects surely belonged to that special breed. If the stack grows too high, start a new one. If no room remains, then make more rooms. A simple solution at first, and then bit by bit, a profound transformation. Knowledge, buried beneath knowledge, a growing, creeping labyrinth from which there is no escape.
Interesting.
Not what you expected. I must admit, the artifice is very convincing. But I assure you that we are beneath Sharlayan itself. The breeze you feel, the flowing waters you hear, all created by the hand of man.
The island is volcanic, you see, and once upon a time this great hollow must have been a reservoir for magma.
Ooh, that's interesting.
It was discovered some 400 years ago, at which point it was repurposed as a storage facility for scrolls and samples and such. Renovations have continued, with nigh on no interruption to this day, with the lower levels still undergoing expansion.
Aren't those people gleaners?
Aye, judging by their dress. They are said to work alone as a rule, but 'twould seem that rule is being enthusiastically broken today.
Yeah, they were all working in groups, as far as I saw.
It may be as you suspected, that they are engaged in a task apart from the norm.
Let's spread out and get some answers then.
Oh, she's having her own migraine.
Did you call to me just now? No. How odd. I must be a bit dizzy from the descent.
I don't know, Cryo, those are normal symptoms of the echo.
I'll be fine, I'm sure.
Frequent migraines.
Let's get to work, shall we?